Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Thinking about Rush all morning long here as I think we all would have loved for him to live to see this day. Donald Trump elected president of the United States again, as we said in 2016, the morning after he was elected. Now do you understand how ticked off we are? And frankly, we're even more ticked off than we were then. And the American people have come together. They finally had their say, their chance to have their say. And they spoke with a pretty resounding voice saying, yes, Donald Trump is exactly who we want to be president of the United States. And now he is president-elect again. Coming up in 30 minutes, Cal Thomas will join us to talk about this. 7:05, J. Christian Adams on election laws and what's still going on out there. And then at 8:05, Corey Lewandowski from the Trump campaign. I doubt he got any sleep. Did you, Julie Gunlock?
Barely.
Yeah.
And boy, I tell you what, hearing that Rush music, whew, it's dusty in here.
I hear you.
Dusty in here this morning.
Yeah, it's hard to stay completely objective, but luckily we don't have to stay completely objective. You know, we wear opinions on our sleeves. We deliver the information to you, but we filter it through our bias, I guess, is a good word for it, our perspective. And sure, we're pretty happy today. Unlike CNN and MSNBC, who 30 minutes ago, both of those networks within a couple minutes of each other called Wisconsin, thus putting Donald Trump over the necessary 270 electoral college votes, according to those networks. Now, of course, Fox News called Wisconsin around 1:30 in the morning. Honestly, Wisconsin isn't even necessary in this equation because as soon as they all called Pennsylvania, it was baked in the cake because Alaska, it'll take a while to get a call in Alaska because they're so far out there on the western edge of North America. But that's the last electoral college votes needed to secure the election. Also, by the way, we keep talking about the electoral college. As well we should, because that's how we elect presidents in the United States of America. But, you know, for the last several years, or decades for that matter, I've been told that the Electoral College is outdated, it's unnecessary, it's racist, it's a vestige of our slavery past.
Colonialism.
It should be done away with. We should go to a national popular vote, right?
Yeah.
As of now, the national popular vote stands at Trump 51%, Harris at 47%.
Whew.
This is the most astounding political story we will ever live to see. They will be talking about this election 100 years from now, Julie.
They will.
And we've had a front row seat for it.
I know. It's very exciting.
It's really exciting. I'm excited for all of you who were supporting Donald Trump and wanted him to win. We are so overjoyed for your happiness because we've been on the other end of this very recently, and we know how it feels. So we're happy for you. I want to also say, on a personal level, can I just say secretly, no one's listening, right? I'm kind of happy we get to change the subject a little bit because constant talk about the election, every segment, every day. Listen, it's the dominant story. But, you know, I just want to give everyone...
Tomorrow is going to be 4 hours of critter news,
pretty
just
much.
so you know.
That's exactly what I got to say.
Yep, we're going to do some restaurant reviews.
Critter news up the
what are you cooking
behind
for
from now on.
Thanksgiving?
Absolutely,
Yeah, it's going to be
yes. What's going on with the
subjects.
royal family?
Right.
I miss Meghan Markle.
I have missed her.
God knows what Meghan Markle's been doing right now. And what we need, is a good Johnny Depp Amber Heard story.
Seriously, I need a trial. I need a celebrity trial.
All the things we need. So we will be able to sort of open up our conversation every morning because there is more to life than politics. But not today. Today is the day to reflect on this election and reflect on, well, more than just the presidential election. But let's take a look at the United States Senate, where you have a brand new Republican majority now. At the very least, it appears we've got a 52-seat majority for Republicans. That includes a flip in Montana and a flip in West Virginia, which we expected. We pretty much knew there was going to be a Republican majority, at the very least, with 51 seats. But then Ohio.
Oh, my gosh.
Sherrod Brown. You've worked on Capitol Hill.
I worked for both Voinovich and DeWine.
So you worked for both Ohio
my
senators.
husband worked for both as well. And so I sort of have an elite, a connection to Ohio.
Sherrod
This
Brown,
is unbelievable.
You could argue that Sherrod Brown was more to the left than Bernie Sanders on certain
100%.
issues. And strangely, Ohio has been so solidly Republican.
Yeah.
But this is the quirkiness of our system. His 6-year reelection cycle up until today always sort of fell in a year where it was a good year for Democrats.
Yeah.
Last time, obviously, 6 years ago in that off-year election of 2018 after Donald Trump won, and it was a good year for Democrats.
Yeah.
And before that, Obama in 2012.
That's right.
Or excuse me, in 2008. 14. Anyway.
You get the point. Yeah.
Brain dead. He went down, and it honestly wasn't even close. He lost by 4 points in Ohio.
No,
That's huge to Bernie Moreno.
I think Democrats in this country have really gone overboard. I mean, the last 4 years, it has been unbelievable what they have done. Between the sort of tail end of COVID to, the school closures and the masks and the letting people die alone in hospitals to the opening up of the border and the fentanyl deaths and the crime and the towns being overrun with migrants. I mean, look, people are so tired of this. And, speaking of those towns being overrun by migrants, a lot of that happened in Ohio. Mm-hmm. Several towns in Ohio were dealing with thousands of new arrivals.
So what you're saying is that Sherrod Brown lost because people were fighting for the cats and dogs that were being eaten in Springfield. That's what I'm hearing you saying. They were fed up, and they blamed Sherrod Brown for it.
That's right.
Good. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, he's out. That brings the Senate total up to 52 at the very least. But now we're looking at some of these other races happen to be in states where Donald Trump, again, the blue. They keep calling it a blue wall. It ain't so blue, guys.
Yeah.
Please stop calling it that. But we're looking at the Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. We just had Chris DeGaulle on, and we talked about McCormick within 1 percentage point in Pennsylvania. You swing on over to Michigan right now, where our former colleague, actually, Mike Rogers, he was on the House, but he had radio programming with our sister parent company, Cumulus Media. He's now ahead by about a 0.5 percentage point in Michigan with 93.5% of the votes in. That race is obviously not called. Neither is the Electoral College race in that state. You move over to Wisconsin, and again, Tammy Baldwin, a major, 3-term, I think, incumbent there. She is just now barely eked ahead of Eric Hovde as votes are being counted in the Milwaukee area, 98% reporting, and she's just under a percentage point ahead of Eric Hovde. But all night long, that was looking like a Republican pickup. We're looking right now at a Senate makeup of maybe 53 if McCormick holds, and if Rogers can eke it out, that's a 54-seat majority.
Wow.
That's a big deal.
It is.
That's a very big deal.
We're looking at some Supreme Court retirements as well, so that is a big deal.
Real fast in Arizona, because that was sort of a high-profile race, Kari Lake is down by 3 points right now. That's with 61% of the precincts reporting. And Nevada is still a possible pickup for Republicans. Sam Brown, but he can't get any closer. This is with 87.5% reporting. Sam Brown holds a 47.3% to 47.2% lead over incumbent Jackie Rosen. If you are doing the math at home, which I'm sure you're not, that's less than 1,000 votes right now in the entire state of Nevada. Donald Trump gave a victory speech last night. You're going to hear much of it coming up in a moment. First, though, at 6:15, WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the... You have every right to be happy and dancing in your bathroom there or in your kitchen as you're pouring your cup of coffee. You should. It's a historic day as Donald Trump took the stage last night around, what was it, 2:30, 2:45? It was
a repeat of 2016.
Right.
Like, very late. I wake up. I'm like, wait, what's happening?
Sorry for the delay. Complicated business. I'll never forget when he said that last year in New York. This time it was in West Palm Beach, Florida. Oh, sorry, I forgot I still had music playing. See, this is why I should leave this to the professionals.
But we're going to do it in every way. This will forever be remembered as the day the American people regained control of their country.
The day the American people regain control of their country. Well, I sure hope he's right. That should be the case. but we've seen this movie before, so we're going to stay ever vigilant. He then acknowledged his running mate, who I do think was, remember when they picked J.D. Vance? And then, what did he do? He just blew it. I think J.D. Vance was one of the secret sauce choices here, right?
Incredibly skilled debater, incredibly skilled just explainer of very basic things. Something that I think a lot of politicians have gotten away with, have gotten away from because of social media and everything's a quick clip.
Right.
And everything,
And they can dazzle people like Dana Bash with word salad.
Yes, exactly. The word salad.
And it's like,
not
but you didn't
JD.
actually say anything.
We really need to explain. And I think we've always had a problem with that. Republicans always have a harder time of it because our concepts are more complicated. We need time to explain things. He's so skilled.
You're right, and a clear speaker. And I'll tell you this: if you go back and you look at the polling, and there was a time there when Kamala Harris, we knew she was going to get a bump, but it sustained for a while. When did things shift? When did suddenly things start to turn, and Trump started to regain his position in the polls? It was that vice presidential debate.
That's right.
It was J.D. Vance's performance at that debate.
I want to be the first to congratulate our great, now I can say, Vice President-elect of the United States, J.D. Vance. And his absolutely remarkable and beautiful wife, Usha Vance. And he is a feisty guy, isn't he? I've said, go into the enemy camp. And the enemy camp is certain networks. And a lot of people don't like to, sir, do I have to do that? He just goes, okay. Which one? CNN, MSDNC? He'll say, all right, thank you very much. He actually looks fun. He's like the only guy I've ever seen. He really looks forward to it, and then he just goes in and absolutely obliterates them.
That's true.
That's so great.
JD got the mic for a little bit.
Well, Mr. President, I appreciate you allowing me to join you on this incredible journey. I thank you for the trust that you placed in me. And I think that we just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America.
Amen.
What a scene in West Palm Beach, Florida. That was the West Palm Beach Convention Center, just a few miles away from Mar-a-Lago. And then President Trump, for those who were hoping that he would strike a conciliatory tone, that ask for unity, ask for past political differences to be behind us, as you would hope to see from a president-elect, well, you were rewarded. Why does it do that to me? Here we go.
It's time to put the divisions of the past 4 years behind us. It's time to unite. And we're going to try. We have to try. And it's going to happen. Success will bring us together. I've seen that.
I like that. Success will bring us together.
Oh, let me tell you, we have a new star. A star is born, Elon. Now he is. Now he's an amazing guy.
And I didn't spend a lot of time on it. I know a lot of my friends went over to MSNBC. It was really funny. Like right after Fox called Pennsylvania, everyone on social media, my friends were like, it's time to turn to MSNBC.
Exactly.
Time to enjoy. I didn't. I just stayed with the good times.
Yeah.
But I once in a while, I'd flip over there. They talked more about Elon Musk than they did Donald Trump.
I just, during the break, was sort of scrolling, and there's been some, Kira Davis has been on top of sort of looking at the reactions, and several other people. They're obsessed with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
They are absolutely obsessed with him and his association. And you know what? They should be. If we didn't have Twitter, things would be, if he had not bought Twitter, which has become the number one media resource for people because you get it straight from the horse's mouth. You can do your own research. You can, rely on your own experts. If he had not bought Twitter, this country would be so much different.
It is. Think of the two things that they hate Elon Musk for. He's controlling a media outlet, and he's a rich man who has pumped money into politics to help one political. Have they met George Soros?
Exactly.
Have they ever heard of George Soros?
It's interesting that you use the word controlling a media platform. He's actually not controlling it. He's like giving it to us.
Right.
And there's
We get
there's
to be
very
heard.
little actually
Yes.
control. He does not deplatform people. I mean,
You're
there's
right.
still some problems with Twitter, but in general, it's become a much more accessible place.
Free.
For,
Say it.
for
It's
free,
free, and that's why
Yes,
they hate him.
yes.
It's 6:23.
Now,
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:37 on this Wednesday morning, a historic day in America. Thank you so much for tuning in and letting us be a part of your historic morning. Coming up at 7:05, Jake Christian Adams, an expert on election law. And at 8:05, Corey Lewandowski from the Trump campaign. I wonder if Corey got any sleep last night. If he did, he slept the sleep of the angels. It's Larry O'Connor with, speaking of angels, Julie Gunlock
how
is
nice.
here.
Good morning.
Cal Thomas joins us now, as he always does on Wednesdays. And Cal, let me tee it off here, and then you can go for it. The Dow Jones futures trading right now at 1,272. That's your Dow futures before the market opens in a couple of hours.
Happy days are here again. Yes, indeedy. My goodness. I just, in addition to the victory, which was so massive and substantial that probably lawyers are leaving all 50 states right now to go home.
Yes.
The reaction of the left was priceless. I'm watching Joy Reid on MSNBC last night in tears after Florida was called for Trump. She called the entire state fascist. Memo to Joy Reid. That kind of language didn't work too well. You need to find a different path. And then there was Van Jones over on CNN, who was nearly in tears. And I love the Vanity Fair magazine, which came out just overnight, really, with a picture of Trump and the number of his indictments, the number of impeachments, the number of his bankruptcies, and the conclusion is, the country is over. Well, the country isn't over. Trump made some great promises last night, which he said he would fulfill, beginning with a border, women or men in women's locker rooms. He said we're going to restore common sense in America. I think that's one of the great statements. Everybody knows what common sense is, and it's been more common than sensical. We need to end lawfare. We need to get rid of all of these indictments and cases against Trump. There was a piece made in the Wall Street Journal, I think yesterday or the day before, which I totally agree with. Biden should pardon Trump and Hunter Biden and get back to fixing the things that are wrong with America, lowering prices again, lowering inflation, lowering gas prices, and doing the business most Americans care about.
Do we really have to pardon Hunter? Come on, Cal.
I mean, it's about unity.
I get it. But, I'd also love to get your opinion. One thing, Kamala obviously is the biggest loser this morning, but also polling yet again. You had that Seltzer poll that came out saying, in Iowa, Kamala's going to overwhelmingly win, and
by 3 points. Yeah.
Yes, and it turns out
that Seltzer's kind of flat.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, but we did see that it wasn't just a Seltzer poll. We saw a lot of polls sort of, it's neck and neck. It's we're not going to know. People were saying we're not going to know for we could not know
Friday
for
or next
3 weeks or something like that. Tell me a little bit about what are we supposed to do with this industry?
Well, we have a tendency to want to see the future when the polls consistently show they haven't been good at predicting the future. Julie, you're not old enough to remember, but Larry, you probably are. The song "Love Potion" #9. Remember Madame Rue? Well, you'd be better off going down to Madame Rue and let her read your palm or look in the crystal ball than to rely on these polls, many of which are commissioned by people who have an interest in the outcome. The networks, the newspapers, they just not work. But every 4 years, it's the same thing. I think the polls have lost credibility. The Democrats have lost credibility with their packing of the Supreme Court, their national abortion right, all of this others, the higher taxes, the penalizing of success and corporations. Yeah. And all of this stuff, it's old. Some of this language goes back to Franklin Roosevelt.
Yeah.
You always pull out, those evil Republicans are going to take away your Social Security. It is, as Brit Hume rightly said on Fox last night, BS.
Yeah.
It's all BS.
Cal Thomas, I do know Love Potion number 9, but it was on the oldies station when I first started hearing it, just so you know.
But now it's on Sirius XM. So you.
Hey, Cal, listen, you're right. The media is a big part of this story, as well it should be, and I like that. And they should. I would hope that they had some sort of autopsy of their own to re-examine how they go to market with their news and information and presentation. But well beyond all of that, what about Democrats in general? They've got to feel lost today. They're going to be second-guessing about what they did with Kamala Harris, how they put her on, bypassing Joe Biden at all. There's some people saying, maybe Biden would have done better. And I got to tell you, Cal, all this talk about doing away with the filibuster, Democrats in the Senate are the biggest fans of the filibuster starting today, don't you think?
Well, it certainly worked for the racist Southern ones when they opposed civil rights legislation.
That's right.
They were all for that. Look, I think the only solution for the Democrat Party is to disband the party and join the Republican Party. Their issues aren't working. They haven't worked. They're totally been rejected by the voters. I mean, this was a significant victory. This was bigger than Richard Nixon's comeback in 1968. I mean, the guy, 2 assassination attempts, the indictments, the impeachments, all of this stuff, and he's still standing. There's what was that song that Stephen Sondheim wrote?
I'm still standing.
I'm still here.
Oh, I'm still here from Follies. Of course, I should have thought.
Follies.
I thought you'd go musical theater on that. You're right, Stephen Sondheim. I'm still here. Yes,
I'm still here. That's it. I heard Eartha Kitt sing that on the stage in London. Brought down the house. It was incredible.
Good times and bud times. I've seen it all in my dear.
Eartha Kitt.
I'm still here. I can do that. I could do Elton John too if you need.
The number to call for Larry's appearances, folks, is 1-800. Never mind.
Cal, we got to leave it there. I'll leave you with this. I'm just checking the popular vote. Trump 51, Harris 47 in the popular vote. Cal Thomas.
That's pretty good. Not bad. I'll take it. And unified government. Now let's do something with it.
Thank you. We'll talk about that next Wednesday when we speak with you. In the meantime, thank you, Cal. It's always great to talk with you.
You're welcome.
It is 6:40.
Mark Levin, weekdays 6 till 9 p.m.
On News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
6:47 now as we continue our reflection on last night's events and into this morning. If you're just joining us, the big breaking story here, the development this morning is that finally, after holding out for about 4 or 5 hours, both MSNBC and CNN called the election around 5:33 this morning.
After holding out and having a struggle session.
Oh, it was a rough time. And it's still a rough time. Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski look like they're attending a funeral.
Mika is wearing black.
We will play, and in fact, we're going to play you a little bit because there's some interesting stuff that they're having to say over there, I have to say. But also last night, one of the most important things that happened is what you didn't see and what you didn't hear at Howard University, right down the street from us here in Washington, D.C. It was the victory party for Kamala Harris, which, of course, never materialized into a victory party. And so the co-chair of her campaign, Cedric Richmond, just like in 2016, his counterpart, John Podesta, he approached the podium.
We will continue overnight to fight to make sure that every vote is counted, that every voice has spoken. So you won't hear from the vice president tonight.
Wow.
But you will hear from her tomorrow. She will be back here tomorrow to address not only the HU family, not only to address her supporters, but to address the nation. So thank you. We believe in you. May God bless you. May God keep you. And go HU and go Harris.
Go HU, Howard University, of course. They're right in front of the iconic
and he's,
building on the
he's
campus.
of course thinking Beyonce really should have done that concert.
Right, if only Beyonce had sung in Houston, that would have been the difference maker. Mm-hmm. Then, of course, there was a lot of discussion. It's like, well, behind the scenes, they know, they see the writing in the wrong. They've got better numbers than we've got, right?
Yeah.
All the people on television say, well, she's probably preparing to make her phone call to Donald Trump and concede. And then Brett Baer came on a little later in the evening.
No indication that Vice President Harris has made a phone call. We're trying to get confirmation that there has been any concession. We don't have any word that has happened. We were told by her campaign that she's going to wait till tomorrow to do something and to respond to all of this, but no phone call, as we can tell right now.
Which, of course, usually the winning candidate waits for that phone call.
Before coming out.
That's right.
Yes.
And if the losing candidate, in this case, may I repeat, the loser is Kamala Harris. If the losing candidate doesn't want to come out and say anything, that's fine. But at least the winner can
call.
say, I just got off the phone with Kamala Harris and da-da-da. And so Mark Thiessen, who was part of the campaign apparatus last time around, he was on the panel when this news broke.
Having written presidential speeches, the thing that jumped out at me is that most of these speeches begin with, I just received a call from my opponent who graciously conceded the election, and I thanked her and I congratulated her on a well-fought campaign. Has Kamala Harris not called him?
We don't have any indication.
And by the way, why is she not speaking tonight? She lost. She just go to bed? I mean, Wisconsin's called. It's over. Why is she not coming out and conceding? It's shameful.
Good question. It is shameful. And let's not forget, as the sitting vice president, it will be her constitutional duty to certify this election on January 6th. Can I say January 6th? Am I allowed to say January 6th, 2025? And Julie, there's been a lot of talk, and Donald Trump had some very nice things to say about moving forward and unifying, but in my opinion, it starts with the person who lost the election. They need to signal and indicate to the people who voted for them and supported them that we're moving on now. And she has not done that.
And let's just remind everyone, and I know I don't need to remind our listeners, but how much ad nauseum conversation there have been about norms and peaceful transfer of power and conceding an election when you lose, and then for her not to even make a phone call. The audacity, the absolute audacity of that is and look, I mean, I think this pretty much tells us she's not emotionally equipped to hold that job, because it is hard to make that call. It is hard to come out in front of your supporters and do that. But it is so rude not to.
Especially after all the talk about election denial and will you accept the results and January 6th and all of that stuff. And yes, Hillary Clinton did make her concession speech the next day, but I want to remind everybody, and you can read about it in the book Shattered that chronicled the Hillary Clinton campaign of 2016. At this moment, 8 years ago, she and John Podesta and the other campaign apparatus, they were already starting the narrative about Russian collusion. They were already beginning, because they were coming up. How did you lose? How did you lose? Well, it's because of the Russians.
That's right.
Let's hope that's not what's going on in the Naval Observatory this morning. It's 6:52 and